What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros live show. We've got another great one lined up for you today as the crypto markets continue to struggle. In fact, over $1 billion, pushing towards $2 billion were liquidated from trading markets just yesterday. What does that mean moving forward? Does that mean the bottom is in, or do we have further to go to the downside? We'll talk about that. One of the big reasons why people think downside is coming is Microsoft. We have been looking forward to today for a while, thinking that maybe they would change their mind and adopt Bitcoin. Well, turns out the answer was no. Apparently, Michael Saylor's 3-minute presentation didn't cut the deal for old Microsoft, but there's still some good news on the horizon. Also, is Solana about to make a soaring comeback? Stick around all the way to the end of the show. We are joined today by Caleb Franzen coming on. You don't want to miss a single second. But you got to smash the like, you got to hit subscribe, and we've got to roll the intro. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We got a full house here. You got, of course, I'm up here in the top left. You got T-Shroom over here. Which way? No, it's this way. It's right here. It's this way. My thumb I can't fully supinate this hand. Right there. This is like, what's that old show that they sat in the boxes and they would play?
The Bucharest Punch.
The Bucharest Punch.
You got Smay down here. You got Caleb Franzen over here. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? T-Shroom, start with you. How you feeling today?
I'm better than I deserve, Tim, coming in from the Space Coast in the sunny state of Florida.
There we go. Good to hear it. Smay, how we feeling? No Pittsburgh today.
No.
Give up on them? Are they done?
No, I love Pittsburgh. First of all, hold your horses there. You're making very bold claims that I don't like. But no, I am doing good. My second favorite team, because I have two first favorite teams, which is Celtics and Steelers, but that doesn't matter. It's Carhartt, and so that's what I'm repping today.
Repping team number 3.
Carhartt, and I let my hair just a little messy, a little out, good. So just for a special occasion, because Caleb's here, and I wanted to impress him.
And yeah, we got Caleb in here. Caleb, you missed the memo that to be in today's quad, you had to have a beard.
Yeah, I literally shaved before this, and I was like, I'm feeling the stash today, so here we are.
Well, Smake, kick him off. He's off the show from here. This is a beard-only show.
He has everything that I don't have, because I don't even have a
you two complete each other. That's good. You're coming to us from Bucharest, Caleb. How is Europe right now? I mean, you're a little closer to some chaos in the world. How are you doing over in Bucharest?
Yeah, things are fine here. It's funny. There's actually a little bit of political turmoil here. They had a presidential election that was scheduled for 2 days ago, and I think it was on Friday or Saturday. The Supreme Court of Romania basically came out and said that the election is being put on pause due to the potential for foreign interference or something along the. I don't know. I'm not a Romanian political expert, but I don't want to say it's tense here because I don't feel like it's tense. But there's some chatter. It's interesting times here in Romania.
Very crazy stuff indeed. Well, we're gonna take you into another world of chaos happening here in the crypto markets, though. Not as political. It's still somewhat political. But we're going to have a lot of questions for you. A lot of news happening today, stuff that's happened over the last couple of weeks and months. I think it's been like a couple of weeks. We're having you on more frequently now, but it's been probably almost a month since we had you on. So got to catch up on and see what you're thinking about the markets. Let's start off here, Smay, looking at my screen. One of the big things I mentioned in the intro, I'm blocking it a little bit. I'll scroll here a little bit. Ethereum. The others is leading liquidations. If anyone's thinking these green boxes are good, this is not good. These green boxes mean long liquidations. In the last 24 hours, others, that means coins that are not listed over here, $532 million liquidated. That's all your crap coins. That's those low, small cap coins just got obliterated yesterday. Ethereum, though, leading Bitcoin, over almost $270 million of liquidated ETH. A lot of that coming from Justin Sun. Bitcoin only 188 million compared to that 270 from Ethereum. And then, of course, Doge, XRP right behind. We'll start there, Caleb. We haven't even looked at the bubbles. We have to take a look at the bubbles in a second. But I want to start we're going to kick it off with a bang. What is your thoughts right now about these? I think I saw somewhere 1.7 billion. Maybe it's grown since then. Maybe it's a little higher, but $1.7 billion of liquidations in the last 24 hours. In fact, I'm sure it's grown since then because that was earlier this morning, probably pushing closer towards 2 billion. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when you were first looking at that chart, you were saying that those green squares aren't bullish. And I would generally agree with you, but there is a point to be made that it actually is bullish.
You're right. You're right. I apologize. You're absolutely right. It means we got to buy a discount.
Well, no, I mean, essentially what it means is it's been bearish, right? We've had this massive, significant correction. It's happened really fast, caught a lot of people off sides. Raise your hand. I'm one of them, right? I've been caught off sides. I've given back some gains here. Surprise, surprise. That's what happens. Yeah. But the thing is, the reason why I'm saying this is potentially bullish here is because what we're doing now is we're flushing out the speculation, we're flushing out the exuberance, we're resetting sentiment, and we're allowing the market to recalibrate at this new level and potentially give us the legs to go up to the next level, right? Because, I mean, what's Bitcoin trading at right now? 95,000, 96K?
Yeah, just below 96.
Yeah, you know, like let's really contextualize where we're trading here, right? I think Solana is still above 200. I don't even know where Ethereum is at, but you know, point being is we are miles ahead of where we were 2 weeks ago, a month ago, a quarter ago, 6 months ago, at the beginning of the year, right? And so this has still been a bull market. This is still an uptrend. And within that uptrend, I mean, guys, what's the definition of an uptrend? Higher highs and higher lows. So one of those components is a higher low, which means that we need to have a correction, right? Bull markets do not mean up only, right? And so the fact that we're having a little bit of this sentiment reset, I think is actually fuel for an ongoing bull market. Obviously, this sucks. This doesn't feel good. It's a pain in the ass to see our portfolios go down and our net worth shrink a little bit versus where they were just 2 days ago, 3 days ago. But this is part of a bull market environment, and that's how I see it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I want to make sure, in case people are wondering, the reason why, if you go to this screen, Smay, the reason why this is when I say bearish, and that we're getting back and forth, but a couple things here. Green simply means it's look at long liquidations. So green long liquidations. The reason I'm kind of thinking this might be semi-bullish, you can go back off my screen now. And I want to hear what you think about this, both Caleb and T-Shroom. You know, I'm watching the charts. We actually got a little hesitant around 100K. You know, we broke through and I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're not going to correct at 100K. Turns out that was more of a fake out. We're coming back down. I've been expecting this, but what I'm watching happen in the market right now, I was explaining this to our VIP traders earlier today. And I said, when you see like retail investors miss out on great buying opportunities, like how many people in the retail space saw us at 104,000 and said, why didn't I buy below 100,000? Why didn't I buy around 90K? Like, why didn't I buy around... And they were frustrated about it. But then we flashed back down towards that direction, and the sentiment's completely changed into, Bitcoin bull market must be over. I'm seeing tweets, $10,000 still coming for Bitcoin. And it's just like this whole thing. I'm like, literally a week ago, you guys are kicking yourself in the butt for missing out on a great buying opportunity. Now you're sitting here refusing to buy because it's too low for you. But there's this concept that institutions and whales, smart money, they look at things like the 104,000 and say, yeah, I missed that one. Okay, let's bring it back. I'm going to buy again this time at 90K. They bring the boat back and they actually buy. The difference about crypto, I told them, crypto's not going to redistribute wealth, right? It's not going to take money from the rich and give to the poor. The rich will keep getting richer, but specifically, smart rich people will keep getting richer. Smart people are going to benefit from the crypto markets because they're going to know to buy the dips. Smart retail is going to benefit because they're going to know to buy the dips. The difference between who's going to win is not how much wealth you have, it's how smart you are and if you take advantage of the opportunities. What are your thoughts? I think that we're about to see, I think we go a little lower. Personally, I think 85 still looks interesting, but I have this feeling it's going to be like this nasty V. Like we're going to go down there, we're going to hit 85, and then we're going to shoot back up, and before you blink, we're sitting new all-time highs, probably somewhere in January. I don't know how we're going to finish December, but what are your thoughts right now about kind of what I just said right there about how smart and dumb money kind of are acting now, and what your expectations are about the next couple of moves for Bitcoin?
I'll keep my comments brief and then pass over to T-Shroom. I think this is just the market dynamics that we see during a bull market. We see people get really exuberant when price keeps going up, and then we see them back up and get really scared and not get more exposure into the market when we get that decline that they were hoping for when we were above 100,000, exactly as you put it, right? So this is not a crypto problem. This is what also occurs in the stock market. It occurs in every market, right? And so this is just investor psychology, right? Investing is one of those weird markets where, you know, if there was like a sale at Nike, or Nordstrom's, pick whatever store you want, we'd be going there and we'd be shopping a lot more. But when we're talking about asset prices, they're called Giffen goods, right? Which is where the demand for them actually goes up as the price of it goes up. And, that's very different from what we see from other consumer goods. So I think the best investors in the world oftentimes are the ones who are able to look at asset prices just like consumer prices and consumer goods and services. And so when they go on discount, you want to buy those dips so long as that the broader trend hasn't been disrupted.
Yeah, absolutely. T-shirt, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, I think the question then comes down to, well, is Bitcoin the best asset to buy on this dip? I have a different answer than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not what I've been buying on this dip. And hopefully we'll get to what I have been buying later in the show. I'm excited about it. We got a lot of news, a lot of charts to cover for sure. Maybe we'll hear
tease.
Maybe we'll hear Caleb what you've been buying as well.
Of course.
Absolutely. Well, let's do this real quickly. Before we get into the news, let's take a look at some bubbles. Quickly look at the Bitcoin chart. Here on my screen, a sea of red here on the daily bubbles. You're going to see just like yesterday, it's actually a little higher though. Yesterday was when we were starting the show, it was more like in the camp of 8 to 12. We see a couple of these ones actually in the 20%. Floki's down 20%, WIF 16, ADA is 11% hiding down here. Move is our big loser. It was the big gainer yesterday, but now it is down 21%. If you go to the next grouping, though, the 100 to 200, I was telling you earlier, this is where you see some bigger losses. Me's down 70%, a lot more 20% losses on this second grouping. So a lot of loss, a lot of pain happening. You're going to notice when we go to the charts, Bitcoin dominance. I said this yesterday to start the show off. I'm kind of in camp as long as we stay below 58%, as long as we're not closing a bunch of candles above the 58% mark on the Bitcoin dominance. I still think that this is the beginning of alt season. I still think alts are about to have multiple months, maybe even a whole year of outpacing the Bitcoin market. But we did make a ferocious rally yesterday, almost coming back up towards that 58%, currently trading above 57%. So that's something we absolutely want to keep an eye on. I cannot wait to hear what Caleb thinks about this, but I want to kind of just show people where we're at the moment. We talked about this yesterday. Historically, Bitcoin during this portion of the 4-year cycle, if the 4-year cycle is still intact, it's going to probably go down towards, after getting the sell signal on the 2-daily chart, we're probably going to end up seeing the 2-daily smart trail end up being hit. Now, this continues to rise, so this box might be slightly outdated. I think I'm leaning a lot more towards just 85,000, but this smart trail right in here, historically, this is the level at this point during the 4-year cycle that you see the pullback come. We also looked at some analysis, back analysis, actually just with our VIP trading group. Historically, this is a level when you see a sell signal on the 2-daily chart, it rarely is ignored to not pull back at least to the smart trail. That's what we're watching here with Bitcoin. That being said, do not think that this is something I'm predicting to happen by the end of tonight. Not even maybe tomorrow. This might take a couple of days to go down there. What I am keeping an eye on at the moment is when you move towards lower time frames. Let's go towards the 1-hour chart. Is there a take profit a little bit below us? Yes, there is. But I'm watching the 1-hour chart start to slowly give us some bullish signs. We got bullish divergence. We have green reversals. We have money flow going positively and positive momentum. I wouldn't be surprised to see today kind of close out more bullish. I think we're making moves back to the upside. Wouldn't be surprised in the very least to see us rally back up towards 97, 98K before we want to return and continue this downward pattern. But I want to make sure you guys are prepared for this. Short term, we're looking at some bullish moves right now on Bitcoin and a lot of the crypto space. But long term, and we're not going to do as many charts today because we have Caleb. We want to go through news, talk about a lot of macro stuff. We'll do a lot more charts tomorrow, so believe us. But it's the longer time frames that still give me cause for concern. Again, many altcoins. I'll just trickle through a couple of them. Many of them have a little ways to go before the 2-daily smart trail is hit. That's Bitcoin right there. Here's the Ethereum chart, would have to drop here closer towards 32, 3,300. The Chainlink chart would have to drop down here towards 18 to 16. Cardano would have to drop all the way down here towards 85 to 75 cents. We talked all about this yesterday. There's one coin on here. I want to talk about this later on in the show. There's one coin that I'm watching right now that has already hit the 2-daily smart trail, and it is Solana. We touched it yesterday. We came back in today. There's some other charts I want to show you guys, though, as to what Solana is capable of doing. You go off my screen now. That's going to wrap up my TA for right now. but a lot of the space looks like it still wants to correct. Solana might be an outlier. Stay tuned for the rest of that. But I want to throw it now to Caleb and get your perspective. I kind of gave some flyby TA there, a little bit of long-term stuff that says we should go a little lower, a little short-term stuff says we should go bullish. But I know you're even more macro than all of that. How are you feeling right now about the space? What are you looking at on the charts? What indicators are you watching that you're bullish right now, but you're saying, hey, if this gets lost, if this support level gets lost, I'm turning bearish, or this is what I expect to happen next?
I will answer that question because I think it's a fantastic question. I also wanted to highlight here on my chart what I'm seeing in Bitcoin dominance, because I think, I had highlighted this actually last week, and now the scenario is actually playing out. The thing that I've been waiting for, the thing that I've been waiting to see for alt season to come into play is for Bitcoin dominance to break below its 100 and 200-day EMA. So in green, I have the 100-day EMA. In black, I have the 200-day EMA. And so we got that breakdown literally on Saturday, November 30th, and we've seen a significant decline in Bitcoin dominance since then. And now for the very first time, you can see it's been almost perfect dynamic support since the beginning of the bull market at the end of 2022 going into 2023. Now really for the first time, it has an opportunity to act as resistance. And you could see Bitcoin dominance came into this cloud yesterday and during today's trading session, and it hasn't really been able to stick that move getting into there. So the same way that I talk about a breakout, retest, rebound setup, right? Where we achieve a breakout, we cool down, we retest the former resistance range, we flip it into support and make new highs. This is the exact opposite. This is what I call a breakdown, retest, rejection, right? And so I think right now, if you believe that we are in alt season, we need to get rejected here, and then we're going to roll over and make new lows and see that flood of capital come back into altcoins and stay into altcoins, right? And that does not mean that I'm bearish on BTC. I think, though, what this does tell us is that new capital should be invested into altcoins here with very clear risk management. If Bitcoin dominance gets back above the 100-day EMA shown in green, we rotate back into BTC. I also want to be very clear about this. I am not selling any BTC to rotate into altcoins. I'm not touching my Bitcoin position whatsoever. So what this does, this allows us to be very dynamic and flexible based on a key moving average that is finally showing a shift in its character, right? It's no longer acting as support. We've achieved a breakdown, and now we have the opportunity to turn it into resistance. Another very interesting thing about this, you guys, as you know, is that the most bullish phase of any crypto bull market is characterized by Bitcoin dominance going down. So I'm a Bitcoiner. I do trade into altcoins 100%, but I am rooting for Bitcoin dominance to go down, because what that does, that tells us we are now moving into the exponential phase of the bull market where everything is bidding. Because one thing we know for a fact is there's nothing bearish about investors increasing their risk appetite. That is a characteristic of an uptrend. That is a characteristic of a bull market when investors are taking on more risk. Eventually that risk needs to unwind itself, but there's a lot of money to be made in between those 2 points, right? So I think that's really key. Let's talk about Bitcoin itself, because you did ask me about a specific level. And during my analysis that I was doing today, I thought to myself, why don't I take a look at the anchored volume weighted average price since November 5th? Why November 5th? Well, that was the election, the night and the day of the election, which really gave us this move from 67,000 all the way up to 102, 103K, right? So that's a key turning point here where the market now has price memory based on Trump winning the election in the United States. Regardless of how you feel about it, whether you're upset, whether you're happy, whether you don't care, this is the fact of the market, right? And so investors now have memory here with this anchored volume weighted average price. And the beautiful thing about this is it lines up almost perfectly with this more short-term level. Let's go in here on like 2-hour candles, and we can see resistance, 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 resistance. We get the breakout, support, and now we might come back down into that level. So we will see. I'm prepared for that mentally. I love seeing Bitcoin bid back above 96,000 here. But I think this is a key range. If we lose 88,000, if we fall below this anchored volume weighted average price, if we cannot flip this into support, that would be a cause for concern, right? It wouldn't mean that I'm going to flip absolutely bearish, but I do think it would absolutely encourage me to be a little bit more patient in this market. I'm still patient now, but it would be a bit of a red flag, right? So this is definitely something to keep an eye on, is the anchored volume weighted average price from November 5th. That's the US election date.
Very interesting. I think 90K is gonna be an interesting area. I saw we showed our show yesterday. I'm not gonna go into it today because I want to spend a lot of time asking you questions here. But there's some interesting liquidation levels at 85. There's some interesting support levels. But again, like I said earlier, I have this feeling, like I think what realistically could happen is a daily candle makes its way down towards where you're looking at, that VWAP around 90K is what you're looking at. And then we get a nasty wick for a couple of hours. We drop and we go down towards that 85K, the liquidation levels, and then a very quick, explosive move back up. We close the daily candle above 90K. We continue like normal. And that's something that's really important in technical analysis. Sometimes just because price goes below a key level of support or resistance doesn't mean it's over, right? Wicks, while you want to be aware of what wicks do, wicks kind of show that things went a little farther than you expected, but if the candle closes above the support level or below the resistance level, that support resistance stays intact. So I want to, even for anyone listening to this, say there's a very real chance that we do end up going down towards that VWAP, but that VWAP ends up holding even if we go down into the 80K range, as long as we close daily candles back up above that range. I agree with Caleb wholeheartedly. That's an interesting spot to remain bullish. Not that you should turn bearish if it's lost. It's just something that definitely makes you say, you know what? Let's take emotions out of it. We preach this almost every single day. Do not trade and invest based off your emotions, based off of what is the chart doing, what is the news looking like, how does the market look. Take emotion out of it. And it's very hard to do. It's easy to say, it's very hard to do. Take emotion out of your investing decision-making. Invest based off the charts, and you're going to succeed in this market. But with that said, we got a lot to break into here with reasons to be bearish, reasons to be bullish, a lot of confusing news we want to help break down with you guys. Let's start off with the headline of the day. Microsoft is going to reject Bitcoin for now. We don't know if they next quarter or next, I don't know how often they meet. Maybe they could change their way down the road. But I want to get into this. First of all, T-Shroom, are there any details you think are pertinent that we need to read through an article, or is it really just that simple? They said no, it's over. We gotta wait for a while before Microsoft revisits the concept.
Yeah, I can provide some context with a few other details, but really, if you go to my screen, a lot of the story is in the headlines, and I've got 3 of them. So Radar, this, you kind of think crypto Twitter. Summary headline is Microsoft shareholders vote against Bitcoin investment proposal. So not voting against a Bitcoin investment, but voting against a proposal. Preliminary vote show. Michael Saylor pitch for Microsoft to buy Bitcoin falls short. Okay, so very different. Adding a whole new character to the headline there is Bloomberg, and CNBC does it too. Starting with Michael Saylor's case for Microsoft buying Bitcoin gets rejected by shareholders. So I have some thoughts here. There's a little bit more details that I wanted to bring to your attention as well. That is this: the proposal failed to garner support from a majority of voting shareholders after Microsoft recommended they reject it. Okay, so remember, the context is that the board recommended to shareholders that they rejected it, kind of putting their finger on the scales. Proxy advisors Glass Lewis and Institutional Shareholder Services also suggested a no vote too. So we have to remember, while there are prominent Wall Street figures such as Larry Fink and many others, right? But they're proponents of Bitcoin. Not everyone is. In the Wall Street consensus, I think if this tells us anything, if this Microsoft moment tells us anything, it's that even if you put the best home run hitter in the boardroom, Michael Saylor, you still don't have a Wall Street consensus. You still don't have a consensus with one of the biggest, most powerful corporate boards in the world. That will change. That should make you bullish. And I don't want to tell the whole story here. I want to hear what Caleb has to say and what Tim has to say as well. But this actually makes me more bullish because it's telling me that while the pension funds are buying today, there's still some very big pockets that are waiting to buy Bitcoin into the future, because we're going to need some big money unlock once the pension funds and sovereign wealth funds get their fill of Bitcoin. And if Microsoft wants to be that late to the party, then more power to them.
Yeah, I'm interested, Caleb. What's your take? Was this surprising news to you when you saw this headline, or is this what you expected? And what do you think this means for Bitcoin moving forward?
I mean, I was more surprised to see that they were even having a vote on this to see if it was something that they could invest in, right? And by the way, like, even if this passed, it wasn't a guarantee that they were even going to invest in BTC, right? So I think that's This was a proposal to have BTC as an investable asset that they could allocate cash to, right? Another important thing to note here is that Microsoft itself has about $80 billion in cash and equivalents. And that's as of their latest earnings report. So, I mean, that's a significant amount of capital, right? 100%. I mean, I think Michael Saylor's been buying clips of like 2 billion weekly for the past like month and a half. So for a company like Microsoft to come in, I think the important thing to note here, though, right, is they would probably start off by allocating maybe 1 or 2% of their treasury, their cash balance into BTC. So that's not even $1 billion. So as we're kind of thinking about the significance of this, I think that the sentiment around it is much more significant than the actual dollar amount of capital that could be coming in. Because as of right now, I don't believe Microsoft will be adding a significant amount in the first place. But that's just my general opinion. And then, I love what T. Shroom said because, my general belief is that we're not going to have any of these major like Fortune 500 companies coming in to be buying Bitcoin this cycle. I hope I'm proven wrong. But what that does tell us is that basically that continues to give Bitcoin legs, whether that's 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, who knows, right? And that's going to be fantastic if and when that date comes. My belief is that it will come. It's just a matter of when, not if. And so, I think we will be having these massive, like the Mag 7, for example, allocating some portion, right? Because these companies, I think like Google has like over 90 billion in cash and equivalents. Apple, same thing. Amazon, same deal, right? So we're talking a significant amount of money here and not even having to issue any debt with the sole intention of going out and buying Bitcoin, right? So there's a lot at play here, but I don't think as Bitcoiners or crypto investors, we should be holding our breath for some major announcement about these companies coming out to buy Bitcoin this cycle. But again, I hope I'm proving wrong.
No, I think it's an interesting point. And yesterday I would have said, Caleb, come on, this is institutional adoption. But no, with Microsoft making this headline, I think it's hard to say that you're wrong there. Like, it's hard to say that that institutions are going in bulk. I mean, I think there's a lot of companies that will probably follow Microsoft's lead, which leads me to my next question, because I think that's a very interesting point. And my question would be, what do you think it would take for Microsoft and all these other large corporations to adopt Bitcoin? And let's get some understanding here of some other things going on, because I don't want people watching this and being like, oh, nobody's adopting Bitcoin. Bitcoin bull market's coming to a close. The U.S. government is a month away from starting a strategic reserve. We are hearing Russia to talk about strategic reserves. Several countries down in South America, China is getting very, very bullish. Governments are becoming extremely bullish on Bitcoin, talking about these reserves. We're also watching companies. We've heard in recent days that there might be a conversation in Amazon. So that's one large corporation. We're talking about another one here in just a couple of minutes. But what do you think? What do you think that they're looking for? Is there a price level? Is there a limited volatility? I mean, I will say, having that discussion today after yesterday's $1.7 billion of a crash isn't the best timing in the world. But what do you think they're looking for before they want to actually go all in and buy Bitcoin? And at what point what price do you think it'll be at roughly by the time they do that?
Interesting. I mean, I think it would probably need to be treated differently from a tax perspective, right? Because these companies aren't going to want to incur a significant amount of capital gains tax on their BTC position over time. So I think if there was a bit more clarity on that, or something along those lines, if Bitcoin was treated differently than the typical stock or a treasury or something like that, that might be accretive, right? So I think that would be a big difference. And I think the second thing, and probably the biggest, most honestly, is just the price of Bitcoin going up. The price of Bitcoin makes everyone capitulate, right? And as this thing keeps going up and these people keep staying on the sidelines, watching it go up and up and up and up, defy all their expectations, eventually they have to concede. Eventually they have to look at this. Yeah. And I think right now, Bitcoin has, the best spokesman in the world, basically being a proponent for what it represents as a digital asset, and as a sovereign monetary asset, and as a monetary network, right? And so we have Larry Fink on TV, we have Trump coming out talking about this stuff, we have Michael Saylor, we have a bunch of amazing hedge fund managers, a bunch of people are coming out in favor of BTC and what it represents as digital scarcity, right? And that's powerful. And so eventually, that's why from my perspective, all of this stuff is just a matter of when, not if. The US government is going to be buying Bitcoin at some point. It's just a matter of when, not if. The Federal Reserve is going to be buying Bitcoin. It's just a matter of when, not if, right? And maybe that's 10 years from now. Maybe it's 15 years from now. Maybe we could dream and we can hope it's in 5 years, right? But again, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of when, not if. So the capitulation will come, as far as I'm concerned.
Very interesting.
One final note on that. It's just to hit on your final point there, Caleb. It's a matter of when, not if. If you go to my screen here, Smay, you can see that the top 10 companies do not hold Bitcoin, right? But if you go just below, you have Tesla, which does. Okay, so when it's a matter of when, not if. It's going to be when does the top 10 companies have a company within it that owns Bitcoin, and that's very, very close. You'll also notice that Bitcoin is in there as well. So if you take out Bitcoin, silver, and gold, you technically have a company that is that holds Bitcoin that's in the top 10, right? So, now if you're on the Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Google board or Saudi Aramco board, there's a bit of a different culture than if you're on the Tesla board, I would imagine. I've never been in those rooms, but I would imagine it's a different group of people with different values and different ideals. Doesn't matter though, because at the end of the day, Tesla still is a $1.2 trillion company, and it is gaining on these other tech giants that have shown that they're not as nimble when it comes to AI, which is a huge emerging opportunity for these companies. So that's just one thing to consider. Tesla is already there. It's already in the top 10 corporations in the world, and it's not going anywhere.
When did Tesla make that Bitcoin? But that was back in
2021.
Early 21, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean,
it's been
a lot of the big.
I wish Elon came out and still kept buying. You know what I mean? It's if he had just been okay, every quarter we're going to buy 5 million worth of BTC, that would have done a substantial amount for just as a representation of the commitment to buying Bitcoin, right? But that hasn't come.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Well, I want to transition though. We got some more stuff to do here. We got a lot of conversations when I get to some takes later on the show. We're going to transition from a disappointing headline, Microsoft not buying Bitcoin, to another company who formally has come out saying they were not going to buy Bitcoin, saying that there's a chance they changed their mind. Ever heard of Goldman Sachs? Well, we talk about them from time to time. It looks like they might be close to adopting more Bitcoin. For more on that, T-Shroom, what are the details there on that story?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, jumping over to my screen, you can see the headline here from Watcher.guru. 3 trillion asset manager Goldman Sachs says it will evaluate participating in Bitcoin or Ethereum markets if regulators permit. So this is bullish, right? Because, you have a big pocketbook coming into the space, signaling that they're an interested buyer and then the second half is where it gets really interesting. But let's camp out on that first half. I'd like to hear kind of what Caleb is thinking here, seeing some big pockets come into the space. Is it likely that we'll see the regulators permitting on the other side of the Trump inauguration, January 20th, or do you think that for one reason or another, Goldman will not be able to expose its clients to Bitcoin?
So I was this headline was so vague. I just had to look it up right now, and so. The CEO, David Solomon, said, this is a direct quote, said that the firm might explore becoming a spot market maker for Bitcoin and Ethereum if the regulatory environment in the US undergoes significant changes. So this is about them becoming a market maker, not necessarily that they're going to allow or disallow clients to be investing in it. So, do we even know, are Goldman Sachs clients allowed to be buying Bitcoin related products right now? Because this is different.
It's a good question. I don't know. I think that that's the chaos of Wall Street right now. Is some providers like Fidelity clearly, are allowing their clients, and BlackRock allowing their clients to gain exposure to Bitcoin related products, and some aren't, like Vanguard. So I don't remember which way that Goldman falls on the subject.
They do not. I just looked it up. Sorry to interrupt you, but they do not allow their clients to buy crypto directly from the bank as part of its services. So even still, though, I think with this announcement, it's not necessarily applying to whether or not their clients can or cannot buy Bitcoin or Bitcoin-related products through Goldman. This is whether or not they're going to enter the arena of becoming a market maker for BTC, basically providing liquidity to the market.
Right. Yeah. So in any case, adding liquidity to a market is it's not a full out endorsement of the market itself, right? But it is a signal that this is the future, right? And they want to at least step in and take fees. I believe that Goldman Sachs is an underwriter or was party to a few of the Bitcoin ETFs. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, because there were a couple of times where Jamie Dimon came out and said something negative about the ETFs and Bitcoin. And then the next day we had a headline that JP Morgan was underwriting and was a co-sponsor for some of these ETFs. So another thing to note here is that it says Bitcoin or Ethereum. I don't think they meant to say or. It's probably and or. But this is just kind of showing that they're willing to stretch, not just to the king of crypto, but also to the king of altcoins. So it's, Caleb, you make some great clarifying points that this isn't necessarily saying that a big buyer is moving into the market. It's more of a market maker. But it does need to have some Bitcoin on the sidelines, whether it custodies it or not, in order to be that market maker. But yeah, I think we've dived pretty deep into this one.
Again, I overall, that's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're going to have regulations that allow them to do that. I can just about guarantee that with what's happening here in about a month and some change. Let's move on to the next point. Another good topic here when we have Caleb on the show. It comes to inflation. Inflation is a topic that we have talked about for a long, long time now. What's its role in the crypto markets? How is it going to respond? We have a print coming tomorrow morning, Caleb, and I want to hear your take on this. What are you expecting to find out tomorrow? What do you think it's going to do to the markets? Maybe give us some if-then statements. Like if we see high inflation, what happens? If we see low inflation, what happens? What are your thoughts about tomorrow morning's print?
I'm probably going to sleep through it. No, I'm kidding. I'll be honest because for me, it comes out at 3:30 in the afternoon when I'm here in Romania. But look, I really do believe inflation was a pre-2023 story, and it's become significantly less relevant to the markets in 2024, especially as the year has gone on. We've continued to see evidence of disinflation. The Fed has expressed their confidence in the direction of disinflation. And that's generally how I feel as well. And so I think that obviously over the past several months now, we've seen a little bit of a stabilization of the rate of inflation, but I still don't see conditions that would necessarily cause inflation to sustainably accelerate, right? And so we can go through these ebbs and flows and maybe a few little upticks and then continue to decline and decelerate in the pace of inflation on a year-over-year basis. And so, what is tomorrow going to come out as? I have no idea. I think right now the median expectations are calling for 2.7% for headline. That's up marginally from 2.6% in the last month on a year-over-year basis. And for headline, it basically stayed flat at 3.3%, which would be consistent with the prior month as well. I don't have any alpha or significant insight into whether or not those numbers are going to be accurate, if we're going to come in above or below. I do want to share this chart, though, just really to contextualize what is happening with inflation. So this is headline CPI excluding shelter. Why am I excluding shelter? Well, it's 33% of headline CPI and 41% of core. And shelter is also the laggiest component of the CPI. So not only is it the largest, but it's also the laggiest. So it literally provides the worst influence on the CPI basket because it's the largest and the laggiest. So it's not really providing an actual real-time metric of what's happening in the economy for consumer prices for goods and services, right? And so what we're doing by taking this out is we're essentially saying for all the other components, what are they doing? What is the inflation rate of all other components within the CPI basket if we just strip shelter out of there? And the inflation rate here is 1.3% year over year, right? And so what we can see is, we're significantly below where this level has trended over the course of the past 30, 35 years, right? We're at the lower bound here of where we generally trade. So that generally tells us that inflation is very cool. Another thing that we can see here is that there really hasn't been much progress in this particular data point for more than a year, right? Almost a year and a half. And so we're generally seeing inflation metrics stabilize here, but also they're not re-accelerating either, right? We're at 1.3% in terms of headline X shelter, but that's, below where we were in November of 2023. Right. So as we go into the print for tomorrow, maybe we see this accelerate a little bit. Maybe we go up to 1.5. Maybe we go back down to 1.2. I don't know. We'll see when the data comes out. But the point here to really recognize is the inflation story, at least as of right now, is still dead. Right there. The Fed is significantly less concerned about inflation. and significantly more concerned about the health and sustained health of the labor market, right? They do not want to do undue harm to the labor market when all other headline CPI components have an inflation rate of 1.3%, right? 1.3%. Like, let's really think about this, right? So we can disagree that these data, this data is being manipulated and it's not true, but this is the data that we have. This is the data that the Fed has. This is the data that they're using to make decisions. And so we need to really think about this data and say, what is this data showing? And is it showing that there's a high level of inflation right here, right now? No. We did have high levels of inflation back here when the all items ex shelter component was, basically hitting 11% year over year in June of 2022. If we take this out of the percent change from a year ago and we just track the index, we just look at the basket, you could see, right, this is still going higher, right? This is still rising, even on a month over month or year over year basis. So just because that headline, that the inflation number itself has decelerated and stabilized, we're still seeing prices rise. So again, the Fed does not actually target price stability. They target inflation stability. They want prices to rise at 2% year over year. And so when we're seeing the all items less shelter index have an inflation rate of 1.3%, that's consistent with the Fed's goals, right? That does not force them or necessitate them to raise interest rates again. So as we think about the monetary policy reaction function here, I know I'm going on such a mega rant, but I think this is so important. Genuinely, I really do believe this. Whatever happens tomorrow, I mean, not whatever happens, but within reason, whatever happens tomorrow is not going to change the fact that the Fed is going to cut this month.
Sounds good. Yeah, it sounds. I agree with you 100%. And the way to think about it, like it actually makes sense. Like, and people want to act like you're trying to say everything in the economy is just a-okay and there's no problems whatsoever. No, what you're trying to make comment is we had such bad rise in inflation there, the end of 2021, 2022, that the inflation got so out of control. It actually becomes very easy to keep it at a lower level because we're talking about the value of the dollar and how much is going. The value of the dollar collapsed in 2021, right? And so now it becomes a lot harder for that inflation to stay a lot higher. That being said, all those data points are going to make it easier to help the economy become a new normal. I mean, if you guys think we're going to get back to the day where gas is 50 cents a gallon, I mean, I in my lifetime remember my dad pumping gas for 50 cents a gallon. We're never to see it ever again. If you think that you're going to be able to go and maybe someday they'll bring a $5 footlong back to Subway, but if you think that we're going to be getting cheap groceries and cheap housing, if you think a 4-bedroom 3,000 square foot house is ever going to cost $100,000 again, it's not. It's just not going to happen. What happens is the markets adjust, though. They adjust to the new prices. They adjust to new details. Hopefully, we slow down that devaluation of our currency so that people can get a hold of their lives and, salaries can catch back up. And then it's just the new normal. And so, Caleb, people give you a lot of crap because they almost act like you're just sitting here back and saying, guys, things are cheap. The economy's an amazing place. You're just looking at data points and saying, hey, we got to get used to a new normal. And guess what? Whether people fuss or not, this is the new normal. And this is how this is how the stock market's going to respond. This is how big buyers are going to respond. And at the moment, they're responding bullishly.
Well, first of all, I don't think I get that much crap from people, right? Because I think people look at what I have to say and they recognize that I'm approaching the macro data points from the perspective of the Fed and the Fed's reaction function. So I can concede the fact that, I mean, I've been on the show before and I said, if you guys wanted me to, I could come on this show and I could be the biggest bear you've seen on all of X, right? I promise you, I could be a bigger bear than Peter Schiff. I could do that. And so surprisingly, right? I mean, come on. But the point is, if we're going to focus on macro to make investment decisions, and there's even an argument that we shouldn't be focusing on macro to make investment decisions, but if we're going to do that from the Fed's lens, then we need to approach these data points from how the Fed approaches them, right? Because if everything comes back to liquidity, and there's an argument that it does, and the Fed is the biggest influencer on liquidity dynamics, then all we need to do is understand how the Fed views data and just view it the same way. It's really that simple. So, I'm certainly not pleased with a lot of data points in the US economy. I'm certainly not pleased with the levels of inflation and the levels of prices. If you want to go to my screen on this really quick, here's the consumer price index of all time, right? Well, I mean, not of all time, but basically in the history of the data series going back to the mid 1940s. What you notice about this chart is it always goes up. Prices are always rising, right? So one day we're going to be the grandparents talking to our grandchildren, talking about, I remember when you can buy a quarter pounder for $7, right? Or yeah, I remember you used to be able to go buy a large pizza for $25. And they're going to be looking at us like, Grandpa, yeah, it's the large pizza is $100 now. Who cares? Right? And because this thing, the CPI basket, is literally programmed to go up, and we can print money and devalue it basically on a whim, right? So this is, fiat money is programmed to lose its value over time and buy you less consumer goods over time. And that is what really stresses the importance of being an investor and being able to grow our nest egg to outstrip this pace of inflation and the growth of consumer prices. So that's why we're all here, right? This is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. When I said you get a lot of crap, I was just talking about the types of things that T. Shroom says about you.
Busted.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and transition. Before we get into, I want to talk a little about Solana here in a couple of minutes. But we've talked a lot about Bitcoin, macroeconomics, and kind of what's happening there. Shout out to crypto for everybody. Smash the like button. Cool content. Yeah, we have over 1,000 people watching on YouTube, 420 over on X. Our YouTube likes at the moment are 335, but 50% is easy right here. 550 likes. We need to get to 550 likes. Go smash the like button right now if you're enjoying today's show. Not as much charts as we normally get, but some great content. This information will absolutely help you understand how to invest moving forward. And this next question I have for Caleb is going to be really, really good for some of you guys who love his analysis, love to see what he's doing next. Let's talk altcoins. Earlier in the show, you're in a similar boat to me. I am taking a little bit of profits from Bitcoin and moving to altcoins, but that's because I went purposely heavy into Bitcoin. You said you're not going to sell any of your Bitcoin. You're going to keep those holdings, but your new dry powder, you're not looking to add to your Bitcoin holding right now. You're looking to add into the altcoin space. So when you say that, what altcoins are catching your attention right now that you're really liking, that you're moving some of that hard-earned dry powder into?
So, knowing me and my tendency to always be buying Bitcoin, I will be buying more Bitcoin, 100%. But look, I want to be very aggressive here from a short-term trading standpoint. And like I said, I raised my hand. I've given back some gains here over the course of the past few days. Sue me, right? I mean, that happens during a bull market, even at any point, right? So the market can turn. I think the thing that I'm really looking for in this kind of market environment, I mean, with today's price action, we're literally seeing some bullish RSI divergences pop up. So, for example, I bought Fetch AI maybe an hour before we jumped on this call. I bought more Tezos XTZ. I also bought Aleo, ALEO. I think there's a lot of opportunities. I was going through a lot of charts, looking at a lot of different bullish divergences with 1 hour candles. We're seeing these things flash all over the place. I didn't want to allocate too much money on that dip because if we get that second dip, I want to have even more to push back in, right? So my trading style is going to be very different from most people's. I'm really aggressive in and out of stuff. And so, like we'll see how this shakes out. But I think for me right here, right now, I definitely see a buying opportunity from a midterm standpoint in Solana. I bought more of that earlier this morning and yesterday. So, I feel pretty sufficient with my current allocation there. But again, I'll probably buy more. And I think for me right now, from a short-term trading standpoint, what we really want to see is what themes materialize if we do get a pickup rally coming out of today's decline, right? So are we seeing memes show relative strength? Are we seeing new cycle coins show relative strength? Are we seeing the dinosaur legacy coins show legacy strength, right? Like the Tezos, the Stellar Lumens, the Ripple, the Polkadot, so on and so forth, right? Where are we seeing relative strength pop up? We don't have that answer yet. We've seen sentiment flush. We've seen the liquidations occur. Now we need to see, how do buyers react? How does the market actually come in here? So when you ask me, what am I going to have my eye on? I'm going to have my eye on everything, and I'm going to actually come to a conclusion based on the weight of the evidence about where capital is flowing in this new market if we do get that sustained bid back up higher. So I don't have an answer for you right now, but I think that's the intellectually honest thing to say is we need to wait and see where momentum, where relative strength is appearing in this market if we do see upside come back in, right? Because for all we know, we could roll back over. So I could get stopped out of the 3 or 4 positions that I had mentioned to you and no problem, right? But I promise you one thing, I will be looking to reallocate that capital and take advantage of opportunities if and when I see them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's transition here into a story. I'm going to get your take later on, but let's talk about Solana. I teased earlier on in the show that Solana is doing something that almost no other major crypto is doing at the moment. And I want to show you on the charts just what that looks like. But if you're excited about Solana, go ahead and smash the like, hit subscribe. Let's talk about what is going on here. To give some context, again, not a lot of charts here today, but we're monitoring right now a 2 daily signal, right? Even as we're talking about scooping up altcoins on lower time frames, longer time frames still have a little bit of worry going on. Sell signals across the board, a lot of oscillators overextended, and historical major levels of support. If you go back to the bull market of 2021 and you go back to the bull market of 2017, this stage of the bull market, it was not uncommon to have a pullback to the 2 daily smart trail. In fact, high probability, above 80% likelihood that you would, at least when you get a sell signal on the 2 daily chart, fall to this level. We're seeing that on coins like Bitcoin. We're seeing that on coins like Ethereum. We're seeing it on coins like Chainlink and Cardano and XRP. All of these coins are getting closer during these pullbacks. But if this historical data point stays intact, they have a little bit further to drop before their massive rally start. And trust me, all those coins I just talked about, I am extremely bullish on. We talked about them in recent days. I love what's happening. But there's one coin, and it's Solana, that's sticking out to me. And the reason why is because, yes, we got the 2 daily sell signal just like everything else. But look at what is happening with the smart trail. We actually bounced on it yesterday, and we're bouncing on it again. You move into lower time frames, and you're starting to see buy signals come in. This is the 4-hour chart, for example, where we're not seeing buy signals on almost anything else. But literally within the last couple of hours here, we have printed a green reversal, bullish momentum, and that right there is positive money flow. We're seeing the lower time frames on Solana start to spark. And this is a coin. I want to remind people that it has been explosive this entire bull market. Let's come back out and look at a macro perspective here. This is a coin that people called back in November of 2022, they called it dead. They said there's no way that Solana ever recovers. It was so tied and so correlated with FTX. People were convinced. And I want to admit here, I'm not going to try to back out and say that I'm not one of them. I was a person who said, yeah, Solana is dead. I'm going to confess that. In fact, I probably was not a Solana believer until further into October of 2023. But look at the moves that Solana has had already in this bull market. And what's most impressive is more recently, just like the rest of the crypto space, we went to multiple month-long consolidation period in a falling channel. From March until November, we were in this boring sideways movement, but we finally have broken out. We rejected briefly on former all-time high, but I believe Solana is about to take off once again. New all-time highs coming very, very soon, not only because of this 2 daily smart trail situation, where it's one of the only major altcoins that looks like it's already dealt with the majority of its pullback. There's another chart that is telling me we should be expecting Solana to increase, and it's this one right here. This is a Solana over Bitcoin chart. I want to go out to the weekly chart and kind of show you what has happened here. A lot of altcoins are starting to bounce against Bitcoin. If you were to take a look, let's go look at Ethereum over Bitcoin. Multiple year long descending channel, but we're starting to get some progress on Ethereum. Cardano, same thing. We haven't yet set a higher high, but you can see major moves on Cardano over Bitcoin over the last month. XRP making some major moves on Bitcoin. But as a whole, it's really nowhere close to the highs it's ever been, like back in 2018. Solana, on the other hand, not that far away from all-time highs on the Solana over Bitcoin chart. And what makes it even more bullish is right now, this formation, if it plays out the way I think it could, this is what we call a bull pennant, a very explosive move here in October of 2023 into March, into actually January of 2024. If you take this explosive movement after this consolidation period, a breakout coming potentially very soon could send this as high as up to let me move this out of the way, 0.010 Bitcoin, right? Definitely new all-time highs. And what this means, in case you're wondering, well, Tim, what does this have to do with the markets as a whole? I told you guys earlier in the show, and I've been saying this for the last couple of days, I'm not convinced that if I were to come over here to Bitcoin and take a look at this chart, I'm not convinced that Bitcoin is done going down. In fact, there's a lot of altcoins I think that can keep going down. But the question is, does that mean Solana has to go down as well? With it already hitting this major support, what this chart releases me to potentially believe could be the next move for Solana is a massive breakout, not only on this chart, but a massive breakout on the Solana chart as well. As Bitcoin stays down, potentially heads towards 90 to maybe as low as $85,000, Solana could explode back up closer to or go above $300. In fact, I say back, it hasn't ever been there. Go to $300, brand new all-time highs. Why? Because there's a very good chance that this Solana over Bitcoin chart, as Bitcoin drops, Solana explodes, and you see another parabolic move on this chart to the upside. That's why I'm so excited about Solana right now. I bought a small grouping of that this morning. I know T-Shroom, you said you bought some crypto here as well. I think it's a good time to throw it to you. We'll get Caleb's take, but very bullish right now on these two charts. Good reasons to think that Solana is about to explode. Last thing I want to say, actually, I'm going to put my thoughts here together before I throw it to you. Remember, this is something we've been tracking going back to my screen. This was a big move when XRP surpassed a lot of coins. And I don't think XRP is about to drop. I'm a big believer in XRP. So XRP Army, don't crucify me for what I'm about to say. But when XRP surpassed Solana, I gave a hot take that maybe not all XRP fans loved, that I think that XRP and Solana are going to wrestle with each other this entire bull market on who's the number 3 altcoin. Tether will come and go. Tether will get high and low. I'm just talking about cryptocurrencies. I don't see either one of them surpassing either Ethereum or Bitcoin in this bull market, but wrestling for that number 3 spot, I think they're going to go back and forth. And XRP made their big move while Solana was sleeping, while Solana was consolidating. Well, guess what? Now it's time for XRP to consolidate a little after a big move. I would not be surprised if in the next couple of weeks we see Solana temporarily pass XRP, get moved back up to that number 3 crypto spot, and then you see this back and forth, and then months after that, XRP surpasses it, and months after that, Solana passes it. I think we're going to see a really big wrestling match here, but it's Solana's turn. It's Solana's turn to wake up and do something special. T-Shroom, I want to throw it to you. What are your thoughts there about Solana? Is that one of your coins that you're buying right now?
Well, I keep it simple because I want to hear Caleb's take. Here's the fact set of this show, right? Everybody on the screen, Caleb, Tim, and I, we both think that crypto could go lower, the Bitcoin could go lower, and we all 3 bought Solana this morning, right? Unprompted. It wasn't like, hey, let's all buy Solana so that we can say we bought Solana. I bought it started buying it last night, bought some more this morning, and I've got some limit orders in right now for Solana. They may not get hit. But yeah, that's the fact set. We all think that we could go lower here, but we all bought Solana this morning.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Caleb?
Let's just stick to the charts. Tim, I loved what you had to say. I think the only thing I would want to add is this Solana versus Ethereum. I think this is probably a little bit more of an appropriate chart than Sol BTC, but that's just me because I actually view Solana and Ethereum as being direct competitors, if you will, right? So I don't view them in the same light in comparison to BTC. And look, I rotated into Solana out of Ethereum back in August because of this analysis, because of this initial breakout, and because of this retest with the ability to flip this into support. And that was when Solana was trading around 130 to 140. So I did that rotation. I rode this thing up to 240. I'm still sitting in it today at 212. And now, where's Solana relative to Ethereum? It's really come back down. It's given back these gains. All this is a breakout, retest, rebound opportunity. Again, continue to flip the former all-time highs, the former year-to-date highs, which were resistance, the opportunity to flip them into support, right? And so I think that right here, right now, I even foreshadowed this about a week ago, maybe a little bit more, saying, look, if we come into that area, that's the back up the truck zone to add more Solana, not to necessarily buy more Ethereum. I'm very happy with Ethereum's recent reacceleration here. I want to see Ethereum participate in the upside. But if you're asking me, gun to my head, if I had to pick one, Solana versus Ethereum to buy right here, right now, today, I'm buying Solana every time over Ethereum because of this chart. We have, again, the opportunity to flip this into support and reaccelerate back to the upside. If this was going to make new highs, right? If we were going to take out these local highs right here versus where we're currently trading, we're talking about 36% implied relative upside to take out those highs in Solana relative to Ethereum. That's massive, right? That's a huge relative outperformance that can happen very quickly, just as this downtrend has occurred very quickly as well, right? This recent series of underperformance. And so I think that right here, right now, this is a great time to be buying Solana. If we just look at the chart on an absolute basis, again, we see we're coming into these former highs with the ability to flip it into support, very similar to the ability to flip this former high into support. And we defended that level every single time. We have a little bit of a bull flag here. So I think one thing that you could do as well, and I haven't actually done this, is we could draw a trend line. Let's cancel the right extension. Let's assume, and this is a very big assumption here, but let's assume that the lows are in, and we're going to tether this back down to the low print. This gets us to Solana at around 350 a coin, right? And so, look, I think this makes a lot of sense. We're getting rejected on the former all-time highs. I know we had 1 or 2 days where we got above this level, but let's cool this down. I think this makes a lot of sense even from the perspective of a cup and handle setup, right? So if we kind of remove some of the minutia here and just really kind of focus on the broader dynamics that are at play, here's our massive cup, boom. And now we have the opportunity to form that handle, right? Maybe this takes several months to resolve, and we're coming in here to this former year-to-date high range, right? So it doesn't look great from the perspective of how long this consolidation is going to occur, but who knows, right? I mean, we can make this smaller, we can make it bigger, whatever the case is. This chart, there's nothing bearish about this chart for Solana, right? And just because there's nothing bearish about it doesn't mean that bearish things can't happen, right? That's why we manage risk. But I do 100% believe fundamentally, so long as we stay above this green zone, these former all-time highs, you can maybe even provide a little bit looser risk management and focus on this green level here. Let's just turn around and make this blue. I think so long as we stay above the green level and the blue level, things are fine, right? This is where you want to be adding to your Solana position with the ability to manage risk. And if we fall below 187, you cut it and you move on. And if we get back above 187, you add it back, right? So it's okay to be wrong. It's just not okay to stay wrong. So this is where I think you can continue to be dynamic and flexible so long as price is continuing to shape up in a bullish manner. And right now, that's exactly what it's doing.
I love that. That was a great addition. I hadn't looked at that Sol over ETH chart. So good stuff right there.
That's the big one right there, Sol ETH.
Yeah. We'll have to analyze that one a little bit more in the future as well. We're going to wrap it up here. We have a Factoid of the day coming with Smay in just a second. XRP holders. I know some of you didn't love what I just said right there. I love XRP. Some of you are upset we haven't talked about XRP news. Well, to be fair, the XRP news broke while we were live, and so we did not see it. I'm going to show it, but we're going to go into more detail on this tomorrow. So come back tomorrow. XRP, we're going to talk about it. Go to my screen really quickly, Smay. Just in, Ripple officially receives final approval from NYDFS for RLUSD. This is the Ripple Labs stablecoin. Of course, it's going to be connected to XRP. This came out, at least what I'm seeing, about 57 minutes ago, meaning it came out pretty much right after we went live. It didn't make it into the planning. This is probably, remember yesterday we talked about all those mysterious lock-in tweets from the executives over at Ripple Labs? Have to believe this was it. Remember, we told you guys, not really certain what they were saying, but something big was coming. More than likely was this. We're going to talk more about it tomorrow. But XRP, if you guys don't own a bag, you should own a bag of XRP. This might be a good spot to look at. There are still support levels I'm watching down below, but I told you yesterday what changes us going down these support levels is if some major fundamental or major adoption story comes out. This is a fundamental update. This is a big move for XRP. This could stop XRP from dropping down back below $2 like support says it should, but the details have changed. That's what it looks like. Pedro says short show today. Well, normally we only run to 4, so it's already a long show. Yesterday was an anomaly. As we were wrapping out the show, prices start plummeting. So we stayed live for like another 30 minutes. But we're going to go and wrap out today's show here in just a second. But we cannot close out without our factoid of the day. Smay, come back on. What do you have for us today? You tried to stump us yesterday. You even had a disagreement with Grok, but you couldn't fool me. I had it. You and the elf could not fool me yesterday. You try again today. It's going to be hard, though. There's 3 of us. There's 3 of us get to vote. So if you beat us, I feel like Smay should win $100 if none of the 3 of us get this answer right.
Okay. Well, you guys heard it here first. That is legally binding because it was on video. But here's the deal. You know, there was a trend back in the day, and I mean back in the day as in probably last year, where it became a common thing for girlfriends to ask their boyfriends what is something that they think a lot about every day. And I messed that up already. What they asked him was, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And pretty much every guy independently responded, all the time, every day. I think about the Roman, and that's true. I mean, guys, do you concur that you think about the Roman Empire pretty regularly?
Often enough.
I never stop.
Boom, there you go. And
Yeah.
so, therefore, introing in the factoid of the day, it is related to the Roman Empire. And now, so this is going to be great. If you see my little picture, it's great. I'm going to read it to you. You ready? Which Roman political institution was responsible for advising magistrates and shaping policies during the Republic? A, the Plebeian Council. B, the Senate. C, the Centuriate Assembly. And D, the Cursus Honorum. Thank you, guys. I was really struggling with those pronunciations. All right, what do you guys think?
Which Roman political institution is responsible for advising magistrates? A plebeian is like a normal person, right? So I would imagine A can't be the right answer.
Well, I mean, they were representatives of their
I'm old
various regions, you know.
I want to take B, the Senate. I'm not convinced it's over, but I feel like the most. We're gonna kind of work this together. You guys tell me if you disagree. I think the most likely to be the wrong answer, or there's only one right answer, but I think the one that clearly looks like the wrong answer is plebeian council. But tell me if you disagree. I want to go B, the Senate.
Okay.
I want to go B as well.
Well, then we'll split the vote. So if we pile up, then Smay's going to win $100. Like,
why is that such a bad thing, Tim? Why is that such a bad thing?
Did we remember to tell Caleb it's his $100 that he has to pay out?
He said he was taking a little bit of profits, like everybody does. I mean, that's great.
I'm gonna go. This Cursus Honorum.
Cursus Honorum.
Okay.
That sounds good.
So Caleb, what your final answer was B?
I'm gonna go with B as well. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna go C then. I'm just gonna split the vote here.
Wow.
I was down between B and C. Was my most likely right answer.
And you know what, guys? Without further ado,
If it's A, May.
Caleb is correct.
Okay.
Gotta be the
I'm
same.
fine with this. I'm fine with. Being
And you
right
know what?
in the vote, you know.
Tim, I'm so glad you switched up because you didn't want to stack up because that just means you're wrong, and so that's good enough. That's worth $100.
Oh man.
At the end of the day, I don't care as long as we get the answer right, so we can give somebody money at the end of the week.
You're right. Like so.
Nice.
Let's try again because I want to be that guy. No, anyways. So thank you guys for participating. It was my pleasure. So anyways, Tim, back to you.
That was a great factoid of the day, Smay. Good job. Next time, maybe you'll stump us and you'll win $100. I'm not gonna make that bet for everything. I'm gonna some of them because some of them are gonna be really hard.
I'm gonna make it really hard.
Really quickly though, as we wrap up the show, if you guys enjoy the show, make sure to smash the like, hit subscribe. We still almost have 1,000 of you in here, but we didn't get to that 550 likes.
What?
Smash the like on the way out, everybody. If you guys, this was a great show. A lot of great information. If you guys want more charts, come back tomorrow. We'll talk more XRP. XRP is going nuts right now. It is above. It just went above and then flashed right down 240. It's going nuts right now. We'll look at more charts. With that said, though, that's all we have for you in the show today. Go out there, be great. Make sure you guys are trading responsibly. You know, the thought of the day with Tim, we're going to keep it a trading thought. Stop losses, stop losses, stop losses, stop losses. If you do not use them, you are making a grave mistake. If you are into trading and you want to learn how to do it, join the Investing Bros memberships in our VIP trading group, and you will learn how to use stop losses, but you always want to use them when you're trading. I almost forgot. Why didn't I say we need to know more about Caleb? If you loved Caleb, make sure to go follow him over on X. T-shirt. I don't know if it's in the description, but it's gonna be X. And then he has an amazing newsletter you guys need to be subscribed to. That should be down there as well, T-shirt. I don't know is that one there too?
Yes.
Yeah, T-Shroom's on top of this stuff. This is why T-Shroom sticks around. He knows the details I don't know. But yeah, if you liked Caleb, make sure to go give that guy a follow over on X. Follow his newsletter. Caleb, anything you want to say? I'll let you actually give the closing statement today, and then you'll send us into our outro. Anything you want to close us with?
Yeah, go sign up for Cubic Analytics. It's entirely free. You'll get one email from me every week covering macro, the stock market, and Bitcoin. And if you like what I have to say, you can sign up for a premium membership. We'll get even more deep dives, benefits. We do weekly group calls, discount codes, the whole 9 yards. So reach out on X, hit me up, the Investing Bros certified. You know, we're here, we're balling out. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, great show, guys. This was a lot of fun as always. So we'll do it again very soon.